Today, I'm going to talk to you about how to find an academic article. This is an assignment for the Beast, and this is our fourth assignment. I bet you're wondering, how do I begin? Well, first, you're going to try to find an article about your artwork. Now, there's about a 95% chance you're not going to find an article about your artwork, but try it anyways. You might get lucky. But if you can't find an article about your artwork, try to find an article about your art style. So expand your research. If your article is about the Venus de Milo and you can't find an article about Venus de Milo, then try searching for Greek Hellenistic art. You'll be able to find something then. So there's a 95 chance you will be able to find an article about your artwork style. So I have some rules for this assignment. The first rule is we're only going to use JSTOR. So I bet you're wondering, how do I use JSTOR? So you're going to go to the Lone Star College website and you're going to click on libraries. That'll take you to this page. Go ahead and scroll down and you will find research databases. Click on that and that'll take you to this page. And I want you to click on the J and that'll take you to JSTOR, and you click on that and it'll take you to this page. It is a two-step verification to get into JSTOR, but just go ahead and do it and click on option 1. That'll take you to this page and you'll just type in your keywords for your search. So we're going to try to find any articles about the Venus de Milo. And first, try to find an article about your artwork. And if that doesn't work, try to find an article about the art style. JSTOR will give me about 5,000 options, right? 5,000 results for my search. And I'm going to go ahead and scroll down and try to find an article. And so it'll look like this. And I'll be looking at dates and I'll be looking at page numbers. And once you find the article that's right for you, go ahead and click on download and that'll give you the article. And it'll show you the title page of the article and the whole entire article. The second rule is do not try to get to JSTOR through Google. I did a search for the Venus de Milo getting to JSTOR through Google, and I did a search for the Venus de Milo through the Lone Star Library. And you can see the difference, 2,000 results versus 5,000 results. And these pictures I won't be able to use. I mean, if I was looking for pictures, you can see that the information that it's giving me is not as good. Whereas over here, I'd only have one photo that I wouldn't be able to use. I looked through the first page of the results and there was 25 results. There were no good articles. But when I looked through the first 25 results, going through Lone Star, I found 5 decent articles. Listen very closely. Students who come to me and say, I can't find an article, and I say, did you go through JSTOR? And they say yes. And I try with their keywords and I find an article and they say, how'd you do that? Chances are they went through Google. That happens a lot. Okay, rule number 3 is that no articles older than your professor, that meaning me, nothing older than 1971. So as you begin to look for articles, look at these dates. Articles older than me tend to be shallow and have no more insight than your average textbook. Find newer articles, they're a lot more insightful. Rule number 4 is article must be related to the topic. Here, the student found an article. I think they were looking for an article about Chinese art, and they found this article about the border dispute between China and North Korea. That's not about art. So it must be related to your topic. Also, I've had students that find an article about the wrong style of art, like their research was about the Renaissance and they turned in an article about post-impressionism. Rule number 5, an article must have pictures in it. This is a visual class. This is a visual topic. Find an article with pictures. Articles without pictures will be denied. Then you'll have to go and find another article. So typically what happens here is that a student will be researching, let's say, romanticism as a style of art. They'll find an article, they'll turn in an article, but it turns out it's an article about romanticism and literature. And a big clue that it is that there's no pictures. Articles must be specific and not broad. try to find an article about your artwork or a piece of architecture or about a subcategory of your art style. For example, Tang Dynasty is a much better search than the Art of China. The Art of China is just too broad. It reads like a textbook. And broad articles tend to be shallow without any insight, like a textbook. The minimum length on these articles will be 10 pages, so do not find an article less than 10 pages. You can see here the first article is only about 2 pages long, so that the second article here would be the appropriate article to click on. The article must have footnotes. Sometimes these footnotes are on every page. Sometimes they're at the end of the article. And this shows that this is an academic journal, not a magazine. This is one of the big differences between a magazine and an academic journal is the existence of footnotes. The article must have a title page that allows me just to very quickly find out if it checks off all these rules that I'm asking you to do. All right, no museum bulletins. So if you see something that says the Metropolitan Museum of Art Bulletin or something Museum of Art Bulletin, that is a periodical that museums put out to show what they have in the museum. It is not an insightful article about the artwork. It's about as shallow as a textbook. However, the Art Bulletin is an awesome and excellent publication. So if you are looking through these articles and you find that an article that is about your artwork or your style is made by the Art Bulletin, you've struck gold. And no magazine article. So how do you tell the difference between a magazine article and an academic journal? One thing I've already told you is that it will have a title page. Another way to tell is that it has footnotes. And then another way to tell is that magazines are pretty to look at. They have these nice little subsections that have a different color with text in it, good looking pictures, and then magazines will have ads in them. I will say there's one exception. There's a magazine for, I think it's African Art Magazine, and that is acceptable. I'm not asking you to read any books. We already got a book from the library. I want you to read an article. So please do not. So when you're looking through these databases, you'll find something and it looks like it's good for you, but on the title page, it'll say chapter title and book title. I'm not asking you to read a book. I want you to read an academic article. All right, now, with all these rules that I've given you, it's going to be pretty difficult to find an article with all these rules. Just be patient, take your time, keep looking. If you can't find it, try different keywords and keep looking. By the way, how much time did it take you guys to find an article? What, 2 hours? 2 minutes? 2 hours? About 2 hours to find an article? 15 minutes?
2 minutes, I got lucky.
2 minutes, you got lucky. All right. Alan? 30 minutes? Yeah.
Cool, 30.
5 minutes? All right. Yeah. Right. So, so it shouldn't take long. However, there are some artworks that are harder to find than others, some art styles that are harder to navigate than others. So somewhere between 5 minutes and an hour, hour and a half. Okay, eventually you'll find a good academic article. So now what do you do with it? This one's pretty easy peasy. You're just going to go to the Beast in D2L and upload a PDF of your article. For grading, this one's just pretty easy peasy. If you turn it on time, it's 100. If you turn it in late, it's a 50. And if you don't turn it in, it's a 0. Once again, finally, what do you mean by late? You have a 23-hour grace period after it's due. So beginning with less than an hour late up to 23 hours late, you have that extra time to turn it in, and I will accept it as on time. Once it says 1 day late, I count it late. Okay, if you see an 11.11, that is the code for CME. There's something really wrong with this, and I need to talk to you and explain it. It's too much to type it in for the corrections. All right. And then if you make changes and turn it back in and it's still a problem, it's a 12 by 12. That's a code that you need to see me and so on. But once you get it fixed, it'll be 100 or 50 or whatever it is. All right. I also want to say that once the final product is turned in, I will no longer accept previews. Like the whole point of a preview is to fix things before you turn in the beast. That is it for, are there any questions about this assignment?